Blast it! Alexander Reed struck his palm against the steering wheel of his classic Aston Martin. Smoke poured from beneath the hood as he maneuvered the upscale car to the side of the winding Vermont road. Of all the places to have a breakdown, he grumbled, loosening his Italian silk tie and glancing at his watch. The board meeting could continue without his presence on video conference, yet his absence would inevitably spark inquiries, questions that Victor would eagerly address with murmurs about Alexander's diminishing prowess. He lifted the hood and gazed in despair at the engine. The immaculate apparatus, which had set him back more than the price of an average house, now taunted him with its utter stillness. The distant growl of a vehicle drew his gaze upward. A weathered blue pickup truck came to a halt next to him, its tires crunching on the gravel beneath. A woman's voice called out, signaling car trouble. Alexander adjusted his tailored suit jacket with a practiced ease. Merely a slight disruption. The truck door swung open, revealing a woman clad in faded jeans and a cheerful yellow sundress, topped with a short-sleeved red button-up. The afternoon sun danced upon her blonde hair as she drew near. "Oh, just a minor detail, is it?" She smiled, acknowledging the wisps of smoke that continued to drift from his engine. "Would it be all right if I had a glance?" "I've already reached out to my service," Alexander claimed, his phone displaying no service bars. "That sounds lovely." She glided past him, bending over the engine with a fluid confidence born of experience. However, the closest towing service is located in Hartwick, which is a 40-minute drive. "Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Emma, Alexander Reed." He responded with a certain rigidity, unaccustomed to the experience of being overlooked. "Indeed, Alexander Reed, your issue is quite straightforward." Emma gestured towards a charred connector. "Merely a blown fuse. I have extras in my truck." Before he had a chance to reply, she was already making her way back to her truck. Alexander observed, intrigued, as she came back with a compact toolbox. "Do you really keep car parts on hand at all times?" he inquired. "My brother operates the local auto shop. I occasionally lend a hand." She moved with purpose, her hands deft and confident. "There aren't many of these lovely things in this area, however. What draws someone from the city to a place like Willowbrook?" Alexander paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. "Commerce. I found myself in need of some mental clarity. It must be quite significant to own a vehicle that surpasses the value of my entire farm." Emma lifted her gaze, her cerulean eyes locking onto his. "Simply a matter of inquiry, free from any judgment. I hold the position of CEO at Reed Innovations. We create technology-related projects, I assume?" She offered a gentle smile. "Go ahead and give it a shot now." With a smooth motion, Alexander settled into the driver's seat and twisted the key in the ignition. The engine came to life with a soft purr. "What is the total amount I need to pay you?" he inquired, extending his hand toward his wallet. Emma cleaned her hands with a cloth. "Let's settle this over dinner at Rosie's Diner in town." Her straightforwardness took him by surprise. Nothing but genuine human connection, free from angles or agendas. "Agreed," he heard himself uttering. An hour later, nestled in a vinyl booth among the locals, Alexander experienced an unexpected sense of comfort. The waitress greeted Emma personally and delivered her usual order without needing to inquire. Flower farming, is it?" Alexander inquired, his curiosity piqued despite his initial reservations. "Hayes Family Flowers. 4th generation." Pride infused her voice with vibrant hues. "We provide services to a significant number of florists across the state, in addition to catering to weddings and events. It may lack glamour, yet it is work rooted in honesty. It must be quite a test, I suppose. Each passing year, the challenges posed by large agricultural corporations intensify. They desire uniformity, a world of mass production. Yet, there's an undeniable charm to flowers that are grown right in the community. The nurturing, the bond with the earth." She inclined her body slightly forward. "How about you? What activities fill the day of a tech millionaire?" "Wealthy individual." Alexander arched an eyebrow. "In a quaint little town," Emma chuckled, her eyes wide open to the world around her. "That watch is pricier than my truck." After a long time, Alexander discovered the joy of engaging in deep conversation about his work, sharing his vision that extended beyond mere profit margins, and expressing the innovations he believed would truly make a difference. Emma absorbed the conversation with an openness that was refreshing, posing inquiries that reflected a true grasp of the subject. "It seems quite isolating up there," she commented as they polished off their pie. Alexander was taken aback by her keen insight. "It seems that it might be." Their dialogue unfolded effortlessly as the diner gradually cleared out around them. As his phone buzzed to life with a signal, a wave of regret washed over him. "Apologies," he remarked, glancing at the display. "This is something I ought to take." Emma nodded, collecting her belongings with a thoughtful air. "I appreciate the dinner." "Thank you. Wishing you all the best with your venture, Alexander." Just as she prepared to depart, he picked up the phone. "Victor, what's the pressing matter?" Victor's voice resonated with the details of the Vermont acquisition. "The board is eager to accelerate progress. The flower farms are facing challenges. Now is the ideal moment to acquire them before they realize what's happening. Particularly that large one located on the eastern side of the town. It's called Hayes, I believe." Alexander's gaze followed Emma as she walked away. "Hey Alex, are you around? This is our opportunity to acquire that land at a low cost." "I'll call you back," Alexander said, concluding the conversation and observing Emma wave farewell through the window, oblivious to the fact that his company was scheming to obliterate everything she cherished. Alexander stirred awake, the bright sunlight pouring in through curtains he did not recognize. The Willowbrook in May not have been the four seasons, yet the charm of the handmade quilt and the aroma of fresh coffee wafting up from downstairs resonated with a sincerity that his penthouse lacked. His phone vibrated with notifications from Victor. "Where might you be? The board requires clarity. The Hayes property plays a crucial role in this agreement." Alexander muted the notifications and accessed the company acquisition plans. The Hayes family flowers property occupied prime, flat, and fertile land, boasting exceptional water rights, making it an ideal location for Reed Innovations' upcoming sustainable tech campus. On paper, acquiring struggling farms seemed like a sound business decision, yet Emma's face lingered in his thoughts. Following a swift breakfast, he made his way to the location he had discovered for Hayes family flowers. A wooden sign adorned with hand-painted flowers welcomed visitors, while vibrant fields of blooms unfurled in colorful rows beyond a quaint farmhouse and a cluster of greenhouses. He noticed Emma carefully loading buckets of flowers into her truck, her hair pulled back, fully immersed in her task. "Looking for assistance?" he shouted. Emma glanced upward, astonishment flickering across her features. "Alexander, what brings you here?" "I wanted to experience this renowned flower farm firsthand before returning to Boston." She observed him intently, then gestured toward the buckets. "If you're extending a hand, pick up those sunflowers, but be mindful of the thorns." Alexander shed his jacket and pushed up his sleeves. "Those hands are worth a fortune," Emma teased, observing his meticulous gestures. "Have you ever engaged in manual labor?" He confessed that he spent his summers in college working in construction, although that was some time back. "I'm amazed the millionaire has calluses." He had calluses, he corrected, grimacing as a thorn pricked his finger. Emma's laughter filled the air, bringing a cheerful lightness to the morning. "Hey there, city boy, let me give you a tour before I head out with my deliveries." For the next 2 hours, Alexander trailed behind Emma as she navigated the farm. She detailed their eco-friendly cultivation methods, the innovative irrigation system her father had crafted for the greenhouse, and the challenges of competing with imported blooms. Many individuals are unaware that the bouquets found in grocery stores travel thousands of miles, often treated with chemicals, she expressed with fervor. Locally sourced blooms are more vibrant, have greater longevity, and are environmentally friendly. Within the primary greenhouse, an elderly woman was meticulously nurturing the orchids. "Alexander, allow me to introduce you to my grandmother, Rose." Emma made the connection. Rose glanced upward, her perceptive gaze assessing him. "Ah, so you are the businessman left in a bind whom Emma came to save." He confessed, acknowledging his guilt. Rose inclined her head. There's a rich foundation within you beneath all that shine. Grandma, Emma cautioned. Yet Alexander couldn't help but chuckle. I appreciate that remark. It wasn't exactly intended as such, Rose said with a playful wink. As Emma got ready for her deliveries, a tall figure with her striking eyes entered the barn. Jack, it's Alexander. Emma mentioned that his car broke down yesterday, and he remains present because Jack folded his arms, embodying the essence of a vigilant older sibling. Simply absorbing the surroundings, Alexander responded with ease. Indeed, Jack's doubt was unmistakable. Emma, we must discuss the bank loan. They remain inflexible regarding the interest rate. Emma's expression dimmed for a moment, but she swiftly concealed it. We'll find a way, as we always manage to do. Alexander tucked this information away, gaining a deeper insight into the fragility of her situation. I should get going, he said, sensing the family required some solitude. I appreciate the tour. Thank you. Hold on, Emma called out as he approached his car. This evening, a neighborhood barbecue is happening. Nothing extravagant, just the locals coming together to enjoy each other's company. If you're not hurrying back, Alexander was aware that he ought to make his way back to Boston. The timeline for the acquisition required careful consideration. Victor harbored a growing sense of doubt. At what hour? He found himself inquiring instead. As dusk settled, the town square came alive, adorned with twinkling string lights and inviting picnic tables. Alexander stood out in his casual attire that nonetheless exuded wealth, yet Emma navigated the introductions with effortless poise. This is the man I mentioned, the one with the flashy vehicle, she shared with intrigued neighbors, who greeted him with sincere curiosity instead of the strategic connections he was used to. As darkness enveloped the surroundings, local musicians prepared a quaint stage. Emma guided Alexander to the improvised dance floor. He objected, saying, I don't really dance. Everyone moves to the rhythm, she replied, guiding his hand to her waist. Simply take my guidance. As he swayed beneath the stars, Alexander sensed a transformation stirring within him. When was the last occasion he had indulged in something solely for the sake of happiness? The phone buzzed softly against the fabric of his pocket. Once more, it's Victor. Significant? Emma inquired, observing his preoccupation. He resolved that it could wait. As they strolled back to her truck, Alexander found himself making an unexpected choice. I believe I'll extend my stay for a few more days. Engage in remote work. Is that so? Her smile made the board's questions he would confront seem trivial. Is that so? This location is invigorating. She mentioned that she could use some assistance with the farmer's market setup tomorrow. If a certain CEO is willing to get his hands dirty once more, he assured me he would be there. As Alexander made his way back to the inn, his phone began to ring. On this occasion, he responded. Alex, where on earth are you? Victor insisted. The reports are due, and it's time to proceed with Vermont. I will be departing tomorrow. Alexander gazed at the stars twinkling above the rural road, their brilliance far surpassing that of Boston's night sky. I'm already here, he remarked, located in Vermont, engaging in a bit of conduct thorough investigation. What is this? That's unusual for you. Perhaps that is the issue, Alexander responded, reflecting on Emma's candor and her family's resolve. Perhaps it's time for a change. He concluded the conversation, aware that his life had started to shift the instant Emma Hayes paused to assist him. Alex, have you completely lost your senses? Victor Chun walked back and forth in the cramped space of the Willowbrook Inn, the sound of his stylish shoes echoing against the aged wooden floorboards. Her week unfolded. You've spent a week here engaging in farming activities while we are navigating our most significant acquisition. Alexander rested against the windowsill, observing Emma as she skillfully directed a delivery truck outside her family's farm across the road. He had selected this room with great care, drawn by the allure of the view it offered. I'm currently working from home, Victor. The reports have been completed, and the projections have been revised. What is the actual issue at hand? Victor ceased his restless movement. The true issue lies in your abrupt vanishing to this. He waved dismissively toward the window. this insignificant town just as we are on the verge of securing it. Willowbrook is certainly not a place of insignificance, Alexander responded with composure. This community is deeply rooted in its history. Since when have you shown interest in the community? Victor let out a derisive laugh. Our friendship dates back to our days at Stanford. This doesn't reflect who you are. Alexander shifted his gaze away from the window. Perhaps it's just me. Perhaps this is the essence of my true self, hidden beneath the layers of corporate tactics and formal gatherings. Victor observed him intently. Hello, is that the flower girl I see? The allure of local honey has captured your attention, and now you're reconsidering our plans. She goes by the name Emma. Alexander's voice took on a steely edge. Indeed, my time here has led me to ponder if transforming family farms into a tech campus is the best decision. Is this the correct decision? This is all about business, Alex. It's our craft. Victor gave a slight shake of his head. Well, savor your quaint countryside romance. Just a reminder that the board will be casting their votes next Friday. If you haven't returned to Boston with a clear mind by that time, they may begin to question who is truly in control. Once Victor departed, Alexander made his way to Hayes Family Flowers. In the past week, he experienced a sense of stability he hadn't felt in years. Assisting at the farmers market, exploring the principles of sustainable agriculture, and sharing late-night conversations on Emma's porch, where time seemed to lose its significance. He discovered Emma in the sorting barn, poring over orders with a look of concern on her face. Unfortunate news? He inquired. She let out a weary breath. Alert for early frost. We must gather the dahlias sooner than planned or risk losing them, and we're a bit short on help since Louise's wife delivered their baby ahead of time. I volunteer, Alexander said without hesitation. Emma lifted her gaze, a smile emerging amidst her worries. You've gone above and beyond what anyone could expect from a passerby dealing with car issues. Perhaps I've lost my spontaneity. His voice carried a gentle assurance. A subtle change flickered in her gaze. Alexander. Just as the atmosphere thickened with anticipation, Jack stepped into the barn, breaking the spell of the moment. A situation has arisen. First National is requesting the early repayment of our equipment loan. What is happening? Is that really not possible? Emma's complexion drained of color. We have consistently met all our payment obligations. It has been suggested that there is a shift in the lending policy. Jack cast a wary glance at Alexander. Out of nowhere, there's a newfound rigidity regarding family farms. Alexander sensed a chilling knot tighten in his stomach. This felt far too coincidental. Financial institutions altering their strategies right when Reed Innovations was focusing on nearby acquisitions. Allow me to make a few calls, he suggested. I may have connections that could assist. Thank you, but we prefer to manage our issues independently. Jack responded with a chill in his voice. Jack, Emma scolded. Alexander has consistently been a great source of assistance. Later that evening, Alexander settled into his room, his laptop displaying the Reed Innovations acquisition documents. Indeed, it was right there. A plan to encourage local banks to restrict agricultural loans, prompting farmers to be more inclined to sell. The sound of his phone ringing pierced the silence. Reed Innovations CFO has pressing inquiries regarding the Vermont project. Alexander allowed the call to slip into voicemail, his gaze fixed on a photograph he had captured of Emma, her laughter echoing amidst a sea of sunflowers. The following morning, he discovered grandmother Rose by herself in the greenhouse. Mrs. Hayes, he started. I have something to share with you. Rose persisted in trimming her plants. Regarding your company's acquisition of farmland in this area, or your feelings for my granddaughter, Alexander found himself at a loss for words. She explained that small towns have an excellent gossip network, while I immerse myself in financial news. Reed Innovations is quite bold in its approach to expansion plans. Is Emma aware? Not at this moment. At last, Rose turned her gaze toward him. The question remains, why have you not shared this with her? Alexander settled onto a nearby stool. I find myself at a loss for what steps to take next. This acquisition seemed entirely logical prior to my encounter with Emma, before I grasp the significance of these farms to this community. Rose carefully trimmed away a withered leaf. Life seldom presents us with straightforward decisions, particularly when emotions are at play. I have created my business from the ground up. A multitude of employees relies on my guidance. However, the schemes we propose would obliterate everything dear to Emma. It seems you must determine the kind of man you aspire to be, Rose stated plainly. The type that dismantles or the type that constructs. That evening, Emma beckoned Alexander to the tranquil pond nestled at the rear of her land. Under a canopy of stars, she at last revealed the secrets of her past. I was engaged once, she confessed, her fingers deftly flicking stones across the shimmering surface of the water. David, who was immersed in the world of finance in Burlington, believed he could mend my connection to this place. What occurred? He presented me with a stark choice, him or the land. Her smile was tinged with sorrow. I embraced the legacy crafted by my parents and the sacrifices made by my grandparents. He failed to grasp that this is more than mere land to me. It's a heritage. Alexander observed her silhouette illuminated by the moon, a weight of remorse pressing down on him. Emma, I have something important to share with you. The phone buzzed to life, Victor's name illuminating the display. Alexander chose not to answer the call. Apologies, but the tasks keep piling up. Labor. It must hold significance if they're reaching out at this hour, Emma noted. Nothing that couldn't hold off, Alexander reassured her, concluding that tomorrow would suffice for the difficult realities. However, the following morning, Emma stormed into the inn's dining room, her face a vivid display of anger and pain, a business newspaper firmly held in her grasp. Read Innovations, she urged, her voice trembling. Prepare to delve into Innovations, the entity aiming to acquire every farm in the county. Alexander rose to his feet. Emma, allow me to clarify. Could you clarify what you mean? How have you been deceiving me for days, feigning concern for our project while scheming to undermine it? She tossed the newspaper aside with a sharp motion. Was any of it genuine, or was I merely a subject for your conquest? It wasn't that way. Yesterday, your friend Victor Chun was at the bank, engaging in conversation with the loan officers. Her eyes sparkled with a captivating light. Did you find pleasure in playing the role of a simpleton while your company tightened the financial screws on us? I had no idea about the loans, Alexander insisted. Emma, I urge you to return to Boston, Alexander. Your assistance is not required. She began to walk away, but paused. Do you know what causes the deepest pain? I genuinely believed you were unique. The door banged shut, isolating Alexander with the weight of his unspoken words and the stark understanding that he had forfeited something far more precious than any transaction. Alexander found himself in solitude within his Boston penthouse, gazing out at the skyline through expansive floor-to-ceiling windows. All was precisely as he had departed, immaculate, luxurious, devoid of life. On the glass coffee table rested the acquisition papers for Hayes Family Flowers, patiently waiting for his signature. Victor had been incessantly reaching out ever since Alexander left the board meeting without warning. You turned your back on our most significant investors. Victor's voice reverberated through the speaker. What on earth is happening with you? I require some time to reflect, Alexander responded in a monotone voice. Contemplate. The election takes place tomorrow. The Vermont deal is on the verge of finalization. Alexander observed the raindrops as they hurriedly cascaded down the windowpane. Did you urge First National Bank to call in loans on the Hayes farm? Stillness. In that case, it's the usual protocol. We establish influence wherever necessary. Those are lives, Victor, not tools for manipulation. Since when have you taken an interest in the lives of ordinary farmers? We have completed numerous acquisitions. Alexander grasped a framed photograph of himself and Victor at Stanford, both youthful and eager for achievement. We founded this company with the mission to develop technology that uplifts individuals rather than undermines communities. Oh, come on, Victor scoffed. Reserve the existential dilemmas for your autobiography. The board convenes at 9 tomorrow. Make sure to attend, or they will move forward without your presence. Once the call ended, Alexander powered up his laptop to review the company's financials. There seemed to be a discrepancy in the Vermont projections. The figures indicated a notably intense schedule, with investor distributions arranged in a manner distinct from their typical acquisitions. He dedicated countless hours sifting through files, uncovering concealed clauses and ancillary agreements. With the first light of day, clarity emerged for him. Victor was arranging an alternative deal structure that would transfer control from Alexander once the Vermont properties were obtained. The coup was executed with precision, capitalizing on Alexander's absence and perceived distraction to persuade the board that he was losing his touch. At precisely 8:45 the following morning, Alexander entered the Reed Innovations headquarters, briefcase in tow. As he stepped into the boardroom, an air of stillness enveloped the room. Victor's assured grin wavered. "Alexander, it's a pleasure to have you with us," said Diane Matthews, the head of the board. "We were just having a conversation about the Vermont acquisition." "Before we proceed," Alexander interjected, handing out folders to every member of the board. "Please take a moment to review these documents." Victor squirmed in his seat. "An agenda awaits our attention. Here are the updated projections for the Vermont project," Alexander stated with a steady demeanor, "along with some intriguing financial structures I uncovered last night." As the board members turned the pages, their expressions shifted from bewilderment to worry. Diane remarked slowly that this seems to indicate unauthorized investor arrangements, while another board member noted the significantly lower profit margins than initially presented. Every gaze fixated on Victor, whose complexion had lost all its hue. "It was a backup strategy," Victor stammered, in case Alexander's diversion turned out to be lasting. "My distraction revealed that our Vermont campus would dismantle a sustainable agricultural community that could truly evolve into our most innovative ally." Alexander presented his alternative proposal, a more modest tech center designed to complement local farms instead of displacing them. After 3 hours, Alexander stepped out of Reed Innovations, marking his final exit as CEO. "The board has accepted my resignation," he informed his assistant, as he handed over his company ID. "However, they are putting my alternative Vermont plan into action." "Where might you venture?" she inquired, taken aback. For the first time in days, a smile graced Alexander's face. "A place where I can immerse myself in the work." 2 days later, Alexander's Aston Martin glided into the heart of Willowbrook's Main Street. In small towns, news spread like wildfire. Eyes were drawn to him as he pulled up in front of the diner. Jack Hayes stood there, arms crossed, a picture of impatience. "You've got quite the audacity to appear here," he remarked as Alexander drew near. It seems that Alexander was in agreement. "However, I won't be going anywhere until I've had a chance to speak with Emma. She has no desire to meet with you." "Then say it to my face." Emma's voice rang out from behind them. She appeared weary, the toll of recent weeks clear in the dark circles beneath her eyes. "May we have a conversation?" Alexander inquired softly. Emma had no words to offer, yet her tone betrayed a certain uncertainty. "I stepped down from my role as CEO," he stated plainly, "and I halted the acquisition." Her poise wavered just a bit. "What is happening?" "Reed Innovations will continue to establish a presence here, albeit with a more compact facility, collaborating with local farms, rather than displacing them. There will be no loss of land for anyone." Jack's posture relaxed a bit. "What would compel you to take that action?" Indeed, Emma was correct. Certain aspects hold greater significance than mere commerce. Alexander maintained his focus on her eyes. "The bank loans have also undergone restructuring. Your farm is secure." For a fleeting instant, a glimmer of hope illuminated Emma's expression, only to be swiftly overshadowed by a sense of caution. "What comes next? You assume the role of a hero and then vanish back into your everyday existence. This experience resonates with a depth I've never encountered before." Alexander advanced a step in her direction. "I'm here to stay, Emma, if you'll allow me to assist in restoring what my company nearly ruined." "I don't need saving," she stated with conviction. "Your strength is unparalleled, and I've never encountered anyone quite like you." He offered a soft smile. Perhaps I require rescue from the existence I created, one that lacks space for what truly holds significance. Emma observed him intently for an extended period. An old, forsaken cottage sits quietly at the northern boundary of our land. It requires some improvement, yet it provides protection. Alexander acknowledged the symbol of peace. I'm skilled with my hands. Don't forget? At long last, a smile broke across Jack's face. Let's observe how the affluent individual handles real tasks. In the weeks that followed, Alexander became attuned to the cadence of Willowbrook. Early hours spent tending to the farm, followed by afternoons dedicated to renovating the cottage, and evenings focused on crafting websites for local businesses to expand their reach. Emma maintained a careful distance initially, exhibiting a demeanor that was both professional and cautious. As the season of spring planting commenced, their collaborative efforts gradually restored connections. One evening, after they completed the setup of an online ordering system for Hayes family flowers, Emma finally voiced the question that had been lingering in her mind. What was your true reason for returning, Alexander? One can begin anew in any place. He gazed at her intently. In every other place, I would simply be the one who turned his back. In your presence, I could transform into a better version of myself. Emma's demeanor became gentler. The cottage appears to be in great shape. It still requires curtains. She mentioned someone skilled with fabrics. Her smile the first authentic one he'd encountered since coming back. Beyond the glass, the initial green sprouts were emerging from the earth. Fresh beginnings sprouting from the still earth, reminiscent of the renewed connection blossoming between them. The town meeting is now in session, Mayor Jenkins declared to the crowded community hall, as the Board of Selectmen took their places. To begin with, we have the proposal from Reed Innovations regarding the development in Willowbrook. The room was packed to capacity, with farmers, shopkeepers, and families lining the walls. At the forefront, Victor Chun exuded confidence next to architectural renderings of a shining tech campus. As you can see, Victor pointed to the plans. Reed Innovations is set to propel Willowbrook into the future. 200 jobs, a boost in tax revenue, and rising property values that will enhance the community for all. Alexander sat silently in the third row next to Emma, sensing the tension emanating from her stiff demeanor. What becomes of the farms that your company is attempting to coerce into selling? A voice rang out. Victor flashed a charming smile. Advancement inevitably demands transformation. The farming practices in this area are not viable for the long term. That's simply not the case, Emma exclaimed as she rose abruptly. Our farms nurture numerous families and provide fresh produce and flowers across the region. With the right encouragement, they will flourish for years to come. Victor's smile grew strained. Miss Hayes, though your emotions are heartfelt, the facts remain undeniable. Small farms like yours are relics of a bygone era. Alexander observed as Emma's hands tightened into fists. He recognized that fierce expression, one he had often encountered in his own reflection while battling for his company during its formative years. The floor acknowledged Emma Hayes, and the mayor gave a nod. Emma approached the front, her heart racing yet determined. I lack elaborate graphs or corporate support. I possess 4 generations of wisdom regarding this land. She illustrated how local farms served as the foundation of the community, influencing not only its economy but also its culture. The role of sustainable agriculture in safeguarding the watershed. Their flowers journeyed shorter distances, resulting in reduced pollution compared to imported ones. However, we do not oppose advancement, she went on, catching everyone off guard. There is a necessity for advanced technology, improved irrigation systems, sustainable energy sources, and direct access to markets. We simply shouldn't allow ourselves to be substituted by it. Alexander sensed a change in the atmosphere, a swell of pride, a hint of possibility, and a glimmer of hope. Then Victor revealed his shocking news. Although this is quite motivating, he smirked. I must let everyone know that Reed Innovations has already acquired the Hayes property via a subsidiary. The earlier bank loans contained some intriguing stipulations. Gasping echoed throughout the space. Emma's complexion drained of color. That can't be done. Your grandmother signed the papers yesterday, Victor said with an icy tone. A perceptive woman who acknowledged the unavoidable. Everyone's gaze shifted to Grandmother Rose as she rose to her feet with deliberate grace. I will not sign anything, she declared with conviction. I might have some years behind me, but I still have my wits about me. Someone is being dishonest, and it certainly isn't me. Alexander rose to his feet. Victor, what have you created? Victor's assured exterior faltered just a bit. What you failed to achieve, Alex, remember that in business it's not about feelings. It's all about securing victory. This isn't a game, Alexander replied, striding over to Emma at the front. These represent the essence of individuals and their enduring impacts. For the first time, he spoke to the town directly. I go by Alexander Reed. Until recently, I held the position of CEO at Reed Innovations. Whispers flowed among the gathering. He glanced at Emma and said, I ended up in Willowbrook because my car broke down. I remained because I discovered something of greater value than mere corporate growth. Collective. Link. A unique approach to innovation. He presented his distinct perspective. A compact technology hub dedicated to agricultural innovation, created in collaboration with local farms, rather than in competition with them. Reed Innovations empowers farmers to reach broader markets, adopt sustainable practices, and boost profits, all while safeguarding the unique charm of Willowbrook. Victor let out a derisive laugh. This plan has not received approval. The board will not. The board has already given the green light to my proposal, Alexander interjected. Your effort to fabricate documents and exploit this community was met with disapproval. He raised his phone high. I have just been informed that the board has decided to remove you from your position as acting CEO while an investigation is underway. The meeting burst into chaos. Mayor Jenkins struck his gavel with determination, calling for order in the room. Emma gazed at Alexander, her expression one of utter disbelief. Did you intend for this to happen? I was aware that Victor was not one to back down easily, he confessed, yet I had no idea just how far he would push things until today. Once the turmoil settled and Victor was led away from the premises, the town council came together to cast a unanimous vote in favor of investigating Alexander's partnership proposal. Outside the community hall, a gentle rain began to fall. As they strolled toward her truck, Alexander graciously extended his jacket to Emma. Why didn't you inform me about Victor's plans? She inquired. He clarified that he required evidence initially. To be honest, I had my doubts that you would believe me instead of him. Emma came to a halt. In the end, you remained steadfast in your support for us. For my own purposes. I'm gaining insights from you, Alexander stated earnestly, advocating for what truly counts. The rain intensified, yet neither made a move for cover. The tech center, Emma remarked, her brow furrowed in contemplation. This could benefit all the farms in the area, not just our own. That's the concept. Bridging the gap between age-old wisdom and modern innovations. Emma's demeanor became gentler, similar to a wealthy individual and a rural girl. Just like that, Alexander smiled, with raindrops cascading between them as if a veil were being lifted. Distinct realms. Synergistic abilities. As the conversation turned to strengths, Emma moved in closer. The North Field requires planting tomorrow. I'm looking for someone skilled in Excel and comfortable getting their hands dirty. My resume reflects those exact qualifications. What about the cottage? She inquired, her tone gentle. Are you still in the process of finishing those curtains? He acknowledged the various enhancements with a nod. I've heard that the most breathtaking sight is the sunrise illuminating the flower fields. Emma extended her hand, her fingers weaving together with his. I have a quick route through those fields, should you ever seek direction. Alexander confessed that he believed he did. Each and every day. The rain lightened as they approached her truck, their shoulders brushing together, two realms converging like streams flowing into a more powerful river, forging a fresh route ahead for themselves and Willowbrook. From the doorway, Grandmother Rose observed, a knowing smile gracing her lips. Certain seeds require patience and the ideal environment, yet they inevitably navigate their path toward the light. I can't believe I'm strolling through a field of flowers in a suit, Alexander chuckled, being mindful not to trample the fragile blossoms around them. The morning sun bathed the hazy farm in a warm, golden light, causing the dew-kissed petals to sparkle with life. You look quite polished, Emma remarked, guiding him along a meticulously maintained path flanked by vibrant dahlias. She donned a modest yellow sundress, complemented by a delicate red cardigan, her hair cascading freely around her shoulders. These days, I find myself leaning towards the look of you in muddy jeans. Alexander pointed out that the bank president might not appreciate that look for our meeting. 3 months had slipped by since the gathering of the townsfolk. Victor was completely ousted from Reed Innovations following investigations that uncovered several ethical breaches. The board requested Alexander to take on the role of CEO once more, but he chose to decline. Instead, he accepted a position as special advisor for their agricultural technology division, allowing him to stay in Willowbrook. Do you feel anxious? Emma inquired, stopping next to a strikingly colorful cluster of sunflowers. What can you tell me regarding the loan approval? The business plan is indeed robust. Alexander grasped her hand tightly. Emma smiled at the brilliance of your idea to establish a cooperative distribution network for all the local farms. The capabilities of your technology have enabled this achievement. Since the launch of our website, we've seen a remarkable threefold increase in online orders. They arrived at the boundary of the field, where Jack stood next to his truck, clad in his interpretation of formal attire, a crisp flannel shirt paired with the sole tie he possessed. Are you prepared for this? He inquired, the sound of his keys chiming softly. As prepared as we can possibly be, Emma responded. The gathering at First National Bank unfolded precisely as intended. With Alexander's business acumen complementing Emma's agricultural insights, their presentation on the future of the Willowbrook Agricultural Cooperative garnered enthusiastic approval. The loans underwent a restructuring process that offered advantageous terms, along with supplementary funding for the new processing facility designed to benefit all member farms. Congratulations, the bank president remarked, extending a firm handshake. This represents the type of progress that rural communities truly require. Outside, Jack gave Alexander a friendly clap on the shoulder, a gesture that would have seemed unimaginable just a few months prior. He conceded that it wasn't too shabby for someone from the city. I need to head back for a delivery, but I'll catch up with you both at the spring festival set up later. As Jack pulled away, Alexander glanced at Emma. There's an unexpected delight awaiting you ahead of the festival. Would you be able to join me at the cottage as the sun sets? With a hint of curiosity, Emma smiled. Is there a reason for concern? Absolutely not, Alexander promised her, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. A heartfelt thank you for transforming my life. The cottage, once a crumbling storage building, now stood revitalized, its stone walls meticulously repointed, windows newly installed, and a garden flourishing with native plants. Alexander dedicated months to the renovation, collaborating with local artisans and immersing himself in both traditional craftsmanship and contemporary efficiencies. As the sun dipped below the horizon, he lingered anxiously on the porch, his gaze fixed on the lane, waiting for Emma to appear. A small velvet box nestled in his pocket, exuding a paradoxical sensation of being both weightless and impossibly heavy. As Emma's truck arrived, Alexander felt his heart quicken. She drew near, her expression brimming with curiosity. What's the exciting revelation here? She inquired, ascending the porch steps. He gently urged, Please close your eyes. As she entered, he gently grasped her hand and guided her into the cottage, which had been beautifully adorned with shimmering lights and elegant vases filled with blooms from her farm. All right, go ahead and open them, Emma whispered in awe. Alexander, it's truly stunning. That's not the surprise, he remarked, leading her through the quaint cottage toward the back door. This is. Beyond the garden loomed a quaint white farmhouse that seemed to have materialized overnight, its well-worn steps and blue shutters instantly recognizable. That's my parents' house, Emma whispered. The original Hayes homestead. But how is that possible? We parted with it years back when Dad fell ill. The owner has been located, Alexander said softly. He intended to dismantle it for the wood. I persuaded him that keeping it whole held greater worth. Emma approached the house with deliberate steps, her fingers grazing the porch railing as if to assure herself of its existence. In just a single day, you relocated an entire house. Weeks of meticulous planning were required, Alexander acknowledged. Jack took the lead in coordinating during your time at the farmers' markets. Last month, the foundation was poured. Emma faced him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. What would compel you to take this action? Alexander grasped her hands gently. Because I understand the pain of losing something that shapes your identity. And because he inhaled deeply because I cherish you, Emma Hayes. Not only for rescuing me on that journey, but for revealing an alternative way of existence. He knelt down, retrieving the small box from his pocket. I'm not requesting that you establish your legacy. I would like to know if I can join in. Within the box lay not an ordinary diamond, but a ring crafted from silver, adorned with delicate pressed flowers encased in resin, remnants of their inaugural planting. United, Alexander Reed, Emma murmured, her gaze shifting from the ring to his eager expression. You've truly embraced the country vibe, haven't you? So, is that a yes? He inquired, a hint of fragility apparent in his tone. Indeed, she nodded, tears cascading down her cheeks. However, there's something I need to share with you before anything else. Alexander rose, gently placing the ring upon her finger. What is it exactly? I submitted my application for the business program in Burlington, which focuses on agricultural enterprises. Emma nibbled on her lip. I made it in. It begins next month. Rather than disappointment, Alexander's expression radiated pride. Emma, that's absolutely wonderful. This region's farming will undergo a remarkable transformation. It occurs 3 times a week. I will need to travel to my destination. He promised her that they would find a way to make it happen. This farm is here to stay, and so am I. Emma enveloped him in a warm embrace. I adore you, she whispered softly against his shoulder. Urban attire and everything that comes with it. That evening, the Willowbrook Spring Festival shimmered with vibrant lights and joyous laughter. In their role as honorary chairs of the event, Emma and Alexander were enveloped by a sea of well-wishers upon the announcement of their engagement. Grandmother Rose walked towards them, a look of contentment shining on her face. She reminded Alexander that beneath all that shine, there was indeed fertile ground. He recognized your effort. It seems to me that this was part of your scheme from the very beginning. Rose confessed that she may have hinted to the universe about her granddaughter's need for someone who could recognize her worth. The cosmos has chosen to disrupt your luxurious vehicle right by our farm. With melodies swirling through the air, Alexander guided Emma toward the vibrant dance floor. In contrast to their initial dance months prior, he glided with assurance, his hands steady on her waist. You've been putting in some effort, Emma noted with surprise. Jack has been guiding me in my learning journey. It seems I had to relax a bit, just like everyone else. Emma chuckled softly, resting her head against his chest. I will hold onto that image for eternity. Surrounding them, the community rejoiced in a celebration that transcended the mere arrival of spring. They rejoiced in the revival, the harmonious blend of heritage and modernity that had rescued their community from the fate of becoming merely another corporate enclave. Under the same stars that had observed their initial evening together, Alexander and Emma swayed, their individual journeys now forever entwined like vines flourishing more robustly in unity than in solitude. You know, Alexander whispered softly into her hair, when my car broke down that day, I believed it was the unluckiest moment. And now, Emma inquired, gazing up at him, I realized it was the universe guiding me to precisely where I was meant to be. 5 years had gone by since the moment Alexander's Aston Martin failed him on a quiet road in rural Vermont. The elegant luxury car now rested in a barn on the Hayes property, a relic of a bygone era, brought out only for special occasions when it was carefully dusted off. The morning sunlight poured into the kitchen of the restored farmhouse, illuminating Alexander as he sat at the weathered wooden table, examining greenhouse expansion plans on his tablet. Would you like some coffee? Emma inquired, setting a steaming mug down beside him. "Thank you." He gazed upward, a smile gracing his lips, infused with the awe of discovering his place in this life they had crafted side by side. Emma's business degree now adorned the wall next to his Harvard MBA in their home office. Hayes Family Flowers evolved into Hayes Agricultural Innovations, a flourishing venture that merged time-honored farming knowledge with state-of-the-art technology. "Jack called," Emma said, taking a seat at the table beside him. "The Peterson farm has successfully completed the installation of the new irrigation system. That brings the total to 12 farms in the cooperative implementing our water conservation model." "Just as planned," Alexander nodded with satisfaction. "The upcoming investors tour next week is expected to proceed without any hitches." Their agricultural technology incubator garnered interest from sustainable investment groups across the country. What started as Alexander's alternative to corporate development transformed into a rural renaissance, with Willowbrook emerging as a case study in harmonious progress. "Where is Rosie?" Alexander inquired about their 3-year-old daughter, who bore the name of Emma's grandmother, who had departed quietly in her sleep 2 winters prior. "Outside with Melissa," Emma gestured toward the window, where their daughter's dark curls danced as she trailed behind her nanny through the vibrant rows of flowers, delicately holding a small watering can. Alexander observed them, his heart swelling with a sense of deep appreciation. "Every day, she resembles you more and more." Emma chuckled, saying it resembles you more. "Yesterday, she meticulously arranged her stuffed animals by size and color." A knock at the door announced Jack's arrival, his previous wariness towards Alexander now transformed into a warm, brotherly bond. "Good morning, dynamic duo," he said with a smile. "Are you prepared for the festival committee meeting?" The spring festival blossomed into a regional highlight under their stewardship, honoring both agricultural traditions and modern advancements. "Nearly there," Emma responded, just anticipating our special guest. Just as expected, a car arrived outside. Alexander felt a subtle tension as Victor Chun emerged, 5 years older and distinctly more modest. Following the controversy at Reed Innovations, Victor encountered legal repercussions and a forced withdrawal from his professional life. After years of silence, the former friends were suddenly reconnected by Victor's unexpected letter that arrived 3 months ago, filled with a heartfelt apology and a plea for another opportunity. "Do you really believe this is the right choice?" Alexander inquired softly to Emma. She gently squeezed his hand, reminding him that forgiveness is essential for growth. Moreover, Grandmother Rose often remarked that everyone should have the chance to start anew. They encountered Victor on the porch. The tension hung in the air as he reached out his hand to Alexander. "Thank you for this opportunity," Victor said, the polished corporate tone completely absent from his voice. "I had my doubts that you would actually take the time to read my letter." "Everyone errs," Alexander responded, accepting the handshake. "Some among us are lucky enough to navigate our return." Emma welcomed Victor into her space, where they engaged in a conversation about his proposal to support agricultural education initiatives via the cooperative. His financial acumen, previously employed for corporate acquisitions, could now serve to uplift the community he had once sought to undermine. As the afternoon wore on, the spring festival unfolded in all its glory in Willowbrook's town square. Twinkling string lights danced above the stalls of the farmers' market, highlighting the vibrant local produce, while also featuring innovative displays of agricultural technology birthed from their incubator. Alexander lingered at the periphery of the festivities, observing as Emma showcased their farm management apt to the intrigued investors. With each passing moment and lesson learned, her confidence and vision flourished, becoming ever more robust. She locked eyes with him from across the crowd and smiled, that familiar smile that had transformed everything 5 years prior. Young Rosie pulled at his hand. "Come on, Daddy, let's dance." Alexander cradled his daughter in his embrace. "Exactly as I instructed you." As they moved gracefully to the rhythm, Alexander noticed the commemorative plaque that the town had unveiled the previous year. "Welcome to Hayes Agricultural Innovations, a place where heritage intertwines with the future." The expression encapsulated all that they had created. A future that respects the past while welcoming transformation. individual joy that radiated into the well-being of the community. Emma stepped onto the dance floor, seamlessly completing their circle. "What occupies your thoughts?" she inquired, noting the contemplative look on his face. "Sometimes, it's the broken-down cars that take us precisely where we need to be," Alexander responded. The festival enveloped them, honoring not merely the rebirth of spring, but the enduring rhythm of growth that had reshaped both a town and a man who had once gauged worth solely in profit margins. As twilight deepened, Alexander, Emma, and Rosie strolled home hand in hand along the path that linked their cottage and the farmhouse. Two structures embodying distinct chapters of their tale, now united by gardens that flourished in every season. Much like the blossoms they nurtured, their affection had established deep roots, endured tempests, and thrived, demonstrating time and again that the most surprising bonds frequently produce the most exquisite outcomes.